For you, it's 2:30, and for us, it's 7 in the evening. Right. Today, Grace joined very.
I mean,
Good afternoon.
Yeah, good
person.
afternoon. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, as usual. Smriti, you were saying something?
No, I was just watching that only five have joined, so I'll remind them. Okay.
Okay. All right.
I have another class in 15 minutes, so I'm leaving.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah.
And you now?
Yeah, no issues. Thank you. Farida, I am making you the co-host. I suppose it's, yeah, I suppose it's fine with you.
Yeah, it's okay. I can join the people. It's fine.
Okay, right.
Okay, thanks.
We'll just wait for another 2 minutes and then we'll start. Who is
Hello
coming?
everyone. This is Smriti Gargav.
Hmm.
How are you all?
Why no response?
I don't know.
Fine, madam.
Hi,
Fine.
hi.
Hi. Now Farida is like a class monitor.
Yes, I too, like for all my classes, she has been so sweet and helpful that she has been like becoming the co-host and making people enter.
It's very cute.
Yeah, she has made my life easy.
Thank
Mm.
you so much.
Yeah, bless you. All right, I suppose we can start. We have enough numbers. So let me come to my uh, PPT and right. So I'll be doing a lot of talking today. Uh, and I'll tell you a bit about my economy and how it works because that is what your this block is all about. So uh, starting from the starting, that is if I talk to you about uh, uh, if I talk about Indian economy, then I'll be also talking about the history because without history and politics, economy can't function. So it's very very important to understand the history and the politics of that era to have a better understanding about the economy. And I'll be requiring inputs from you people regarding how your country has been doing and what was your country doing at that time when we were doing something. So we were a colony for around about 200 years with of British. We were a British colony. We were also a parts of India was ruled by Portuguese. Uh, Part of it was with French. A very small part was with the French as well. Uh, we have had a lot of intruders and people coming and looting our wealth. So we have had a lot of people from the Arab countries, the Mughals, they all coming here and like looting our country. And but it was the Brits who stayed the longest. And so like in that sense you can say that there was some semblance that was brought about by the Britishers because they were ruling the major part of the country, so they brought about the same rules and regulations for everybody. They tried to bring in some sort of a homogeneity in the country. So in 1947 we became independent, and we adopted a mixed economic model. Now, what is a mixed economic model? So basically, it is a confluence of capitalism and socialism. So that is what mixed economy is. And we adopted a mixed economy. We adopted democratic political system, whereby the prime minister of the country is chosen by the people directly. And we have got two houses in the parliament, the upper house and the lower house. People in the lower house, the representatives in the lower house are chosen by the people directly, and people in the upper house, that's an indirect vote. And yeah, so 1947 we became independent, and the central bank of the country uh, was we had RBI, that is Reserve Bank of India, that's the Central Bank of India. The RBI was enacted by the Act of 1934, started functioning in the year 1935. It was nationalized in the year 1949, and it was made the central bank of the country. And the Banking Regulation Act also came in the year 1949. 1950, the first elections were held for the country, and as I said, that we adopted a mixed economic model because we were very much influenced by the progress that USSR was making and the economic model that USSR had. You can say that because of the Great Depression of the 1930s and because of the fallout of the European countries and the way their economies got shattered by the two wars, we like there was this entire you can say there was some antagonism against capitalism. So not very much impressed by capitalism, though America had started flourishing by then, but we were much more influenced by USSR. And that was an alternative model that they had given. USSR had given an alternative model. And Pandit Nehru, our first prime minister, he visited USSR in 1930s, and he was very much impressed by the 5-year plans that they had. And so he has written, like he was a very avid writer, and he chronicled India's history very well. So in one of his like not one in a lot of his newspaper articles, in his correspondences, he has written that uh, if and when India would not if when India would become independent, uh, we should be having a planned economy, and we should adopt the model that Russia has given, USSR at that time has given, and we would like to have a planned economic model. And 1950, uh, the planning commission was formed. So that was the initiation of planning in India, or what you people, I don't know how many of you have heard the word command economy. Have you people heard the term command economy? Have you people heard this term command economy?
No.
No. All right. Command economy basically means economy which is uh, in the hands of a central body, which is mainly the government, and where the government decides what to produce, when to produce, where to produce, who to produce, how to produce, how much to produce. So all these basic economic questions are answered by the government, and the government takes the decisions for the economy. And so that's a command economy. And so 1950, we started with our planning commission, and that is when planning started in India. And we came up with a first 5-year plan in the year 1951. Now, how many of you are aware of plans? Like, in how many country of yours have you adopted planning? 5-year plans, 3-year plans. How many of your countries like have got that?
I think nowadays in most of the countries they call it vision, like Vision 2030.
Okay, Vision 2030. All right. So there's no planning. Uh, have you? How much of you? How much do you know about the Russian economy or the USSR economy? Or what do you know about it? Not how much. Wrong question. What do you know about the Russian economy? Nothing.
Uh, right
Yeah.
now, ma'am, I think it's gonna collapse. The news are coming that it's gonna collapse anytime soon. It
Okay.
hasn't been
And
in a good shape
okay.
since quite a long time. They have been struggling
Mm-hmm.
since the past, especially after COVID. Well, COVID's hit everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
but then they haven't been really good. But now with the war,
Mm.
so the fall of Russia's economy is imminent. This is what I can
Uh,
gather from the information that is circulating. Thank you.
okay. So that means your press is as biased as our press.
Yeah, the bias is there everywhere, ma'am. Bias is
Okay.
there everywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. if I can bring in somebody. That other day I had a lot of my Nigerian friends talking a lot. Masumba, what about your economy, your country? What sort of economic model have you people followed?
I think in our economy, I would like to think the way I see it,
Mm.
it's it's not fully command, but there is an aspect of government taking a major role. So you've got market forces playing their part, and government also playing its part.
You have got public sector enterprises.
Yes, yes.
Railways is owned by whom?
However, that's where the issue is. The railroad station,
Mm.
the railroads, they're still owned by government.
Okay, all right.
However, the operators of the trains are now private, private
Acha, okay.
institutions. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Now, all right. Interesting, because we started off, as I said, that in 1951 we had the Planning Commission, and we came up with a first 5-year plan. So when we started with planning in India, it was mainly the government who was running the show. So we had. In the first 5-year plan, our focus area was agriculture. So we because we had like 1947 we had a partition, because Pakistan was a part of India. uh, when the freedom struggle was going on, basically we it was like within the country there were a lot of fragments because of the kingdoms. There were a lot of small kingdoms around, and it was not a cohesive state like it is right now. And when during the struggle for freedom in the 20th century, there were distinct voices regarding the freedom struggle in terms of religion. So there were Hindu sections, and then there were Muslim sections, and they both these groups, they came up with a two nation theory, where they said that we could not co like inhibit like co okay, I'm not getting the word, like we could not stay together. And we so there came in that entire thing of two nations theory. Though the Congress party was which was the largest party then, and the one that struggled the most in terms of getting the independence for the country, they did not they were not very much in favor of this two nation theory, because they said that religion was a very private affair, and you cannot have as nations on the basis of religion. But however, whatever the history happened, and we were partitioned in 1947, so Pakistan was formed, and the today the Bangladesh was a part of Pakistan then. So it was East Pakistan, and there was West Pakistan, and in between we had you had India. And in 1950, when when the planning process started, so 1951 to 1956, we had a first 5-year plan. So the emphasis was on agriculture, and the reason for it being the emphasis being on agriculture was obviously, one, we were an agrarian country, like most of us were, like not most, all of us were. I shouldn't use the word most. All of us were agrarian to start with. And secondly, agriculture was providing maximum livelihood. So around about 70 to 75% of the population was dependent on agriculture for its livelihood. So the main focus was on agriculture in the first 5-year plan. It was in the second 5-year plan that we changed and we moved to industry. And slowly the industrialization happened. Now, a very interesting fact about that period is that uh, like when we started off with this uh, industrialization process, The government said that the state or the government machinery would focus on all the infrastructure businesses, and it would build the infrastructure. Most of the industries were reserved for the public sector. What was left, which was basically your consumer goods sector, was left for the private players. And basically, it was said that anything which required huge investment, where the gestation period was long, would be in the hands of the government. So whether it was iron and steel industry, whether it was your electricity, whether it was gas, whether it was even watches. I don't know, like, in your country, do you have a company of watch which is owned by the government?
Not mine, no.
No? Okay. What about others? Grace, what about your country? Which sectors in your country are owned by the government?
Well, there are quite a number.
Sorry, Grace?
I'm saying there are quite a number.
Okay. Um, uh, uh, what are the main sectors? What are the main sectors?
Health,
Okay.
particular health and education.
All right. Electricity, power.
Yes, we have one company. It's a monopoly.
Okay.
We don't
All
have
right.
yeah. So yeah, power. It's state owned.
And what about banks?
Banks, they not much. We just have two banks.
Okay.
One actually. Zanaco. We call it Zanaco.
And for the entire country, there's just one bank?
No, no, no.
Huh.
The government owned. I
Okay.
thought
All
you
right.
asked. Yes,
Okay.
government owned.
All
Otherwise,
right.
others are privately
Private.
owned. Yes, please.
All right. And what about railways?
Well, we just have one, and it it was owned by
Huh.
government at one time, but I hear investors are coming in, and there are talks around it. So
Uh, is,
we don't
is
have a
China
railway.
investing? Okay. Is
Sorry,
China investing? Is China investing in your country?
heavily,
Okay. All right.
unfortunately.
Yeah,
Is it
fortunately.
fortunately?
Okay.
Colonialism is back.
Yeah, only your rulers have changed from the west to the east.
Yes, apparently.
Yes. All right. Okay, great. Thank you. I know you're in the
Yes,
office.
it's an
A
open
lot of voices
office. I'm
coming from
sorry
your
about that.
background. No, 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 no. Do not be sorry about it. Do not be sorry. It's let everybody hear the economics lecture. Uh, all right. Yeah. What I was why I was asking you this, because in hindsight, of course, like, hindsight, we always say that in economics, we always say that the hindsight is the best side. What like now, right now, what we are seeing is that the government built, like, it did the hard work, it created the infrastructure, it put the economy on a path, it gave it direction. Of course, there was a lot of corruption, there were a lot of inefficiencies, but now the private players come in and they start taking away all that which the government built in the name of inefficiency, and they are being sold at very low rates to them, and suddenly they start making a lot of money out of it. So that inefficient system starts making money in the hands of the private entrepreneur. And okay, so, like, something that is very debatable, and something that needs to be looked into. So as I was talking about planning in India, so we have had 12 5-year plans, so that covers 60 years. So we have had 12 5-year plans. We have had a lot of annual plans. Mm, if I say when I say a lot, like around about okay, 66 to 69. We had 3 annual plans, and then we had it in 89, 90, 2 annual plans here. Yeah, so we have had around about 5 to 6 annual plans as well. And then since 2014, the planning system has ended. Like we now no longer have plans. And as Rion was saying, that now you have got visions. So countries are calling it them calling Vision 2030. In India, the vision is 2047, Vision 2047 that we are talking about, because we'll be completing 100 years of independence. So the government is now talking about Vision 2047. And Rian, why are the countries talking about Vision 2030? Something special about 2030?
Well, I just gave it as an example, but I think most governments are getting away from plans to vision, because visions are usually not like definite with the time. So, and because most of our African governments really
Hmm.
are not there to do what they say they are going to do. So they know that most of the people they are talking to don't understand these things. So they just give them a yarn. It's like when they say vision 2030, people will just be like, okay, 2030, but they won't really know what exactly they are talking about. So mainly it is a system of trying to get people confused so that they don't ask a lot of questions.
Uh,
Yeah,
so,
it's very unfortunate that most of
so
our
you
leaders
are
do that.
saying that the governments do not want accountability.
Yeah, it's exactly. That's why you find that most of the governments in Africa
Hmm.
are always at loggerheads with the people who try to show people what exactly is going on.
All right. So, right. What an interesting insight there. Because one thing which is very special about 2030 is that is when the sustainable development goals are to be achieved. So the SDGs, all your 17 SDGs, they have to be achieved by the year 2030. So a lot of the countries are talking about Vision 2030 because of that reason. And as Rionso, like a very good insight, a very good angle, a dimension to it, that the governments no longer want accountability there, and that's the reason that they are going. Coming back to India, as I said, so we stopped our planning process in the year 2014, and we had the planning commission. So now, instead of the planning commission, we now have an organization called Niti Ayog. Like National Institution of Transforming India, if I'm not mistaken, that's the full form of Niti Ayog. Let me just very quickly look at it. That Niti Ayog. So Ayog, and it's okay. What does Wikipedia tells you? Nothing. Uh, it's if I'm not mistaken, it's transforming.
Yeah, ma'am, I think you see how confusing those things become. So,
Yeah, they do become, because in India we have most of us, like, again, it's a very divided house, because in India we have got this uh, there's this one group which is talking about that it's so good for less government intervention. So that's a very good sign, and they keep talking about yeah. So National Institution for Transforming India. That okay, fine. So I was correct with my Transforming India part. Yeah. So as I was saying, that one group in India is talking a lot about uh, uh, capitalism. It is talking that the private players are more efficient, they are more productive, and the work of the state is just to governance is its main area, and that is where it should stay. Like, so the government needs to govern, and the economy needs to be run by the market forces. And then there is a second school of thought, to which I also belong, which like people like us, we feel that because like here on the slide I've been asking that there's this developing, developed, underdeveloped, or fastest growing. So we are a developing country, we are also the fastest growing economy. And so because we are developing and we are fastest growing, so we need some sort of a state intervention. We need inclusive growth. We were talking about inclusion the other day. So we need more of inclusive growth. We want the allocation of the resources to be very, very proper. And for that to happen, the role of the state is very important, because till date we have got a huge population which is below the poverty line. There are a lot of people who are still underprivileged. There are a lot of people who are above the poverty line, but they are in that bracket where they can fall in the below poverty line any day. So you have got the problem of hunger, you have got the problem of poverty, you have got the problem of gender inequality, you have the problem of quality education, you have the problem of sanitation, of clean drinking water. So those problems persist. So if you leave everything to the market forces, uh, it becomes a bit it becomes a very unfair playing ground. So we feel that the role of the state is very important. But again, like what basically in India, what the government did was that till the planning commission was there was an accountability, what Rion was saying. So there was a fixed accountability, because every plan had resource allocation. So the amount of money that was there for each sector was that was announced. A lot of programs were announced that would be there for the next 5 years. Every plan had a focus area. So we started off with agriculture, we went to industry, we came back to agriculture, we then moved to banking and insurance and mining, and then we started talking about the developmental things. We then for the last 2-3 plans, we had inclusion as one of the main focus areas of inclusive growth. So yes, there was red tapeism. There's no doubt about it, because it was a very bureaucratic setup. So there was a lot of red tapeism, but it was taking care of a lot of things. Now, this Niti Aayog it's a uh, um, it's a body which is meant to provide consultancy, to provide uh, it is sort of a body which is providing the government with some guidance, with certain guidelines and stuff, but it is not taking the decisions. It's no longer a decision making body. It is just there as a part of a consultancy group, and it gives a lot of consultation to the government, and that is what the main work is now. So there's no resource allocation as such. They have got their members, and yeah, there are bifurcations within the Niti Aayog. You've got agriculture, you've got foreign trade, you've got industry, you've got banking. So you've got those people around who are experts in their respective fields who are going about it. But yeah, so it's a more of a it has, the role has changed drastically. So yeah, so in terms of planning, that is what we did. So we started off with a planned economy, and slowly we now like we started off with a mixed economic model, capitalism plus socialism. We were more socialistic than capitalistic earlier. Now we are more capitalistic than socialistic. So yeah, that mix goes on. Okay, I had somebody that day. Like, let me just have a look at the names. And was it Usman or was it Emmanuel? Emmanuel, you were talking about Nigeria the other day.
I was talking about Ghana.
You were talking about Ghana. Okay, what sort of economy does Ghana have, Emmanuel? Is it
Uh,
is it a socialist economy, a capitalist economy, a mixed economy? What is it?
uh, I, I, it's a mixed economy because we have both the private and the government sectors working. So
okay, now if okay, let's open a debate here. Like let's start off with a discussion, because I know that just if I'm just talking about Indian economy, you'll get bored, because you people don't know a lot about the Indian economy. So it has to be a two-way conversation. Now, how many of you feel that the government's role is just to govern and not to participate in the economy? Like, what are your thoughts? Is the work of the government to govern and not to participate in the economy? I know most of you are in your offices right now, but please go ahead. Somebody has to open the conversation. I'm waiting.
I think I'll go first.
Okay.
So my take on this would be that you cannot find a black and white system right now where you can say the government cannot be cannot play a part in the economy of a country, or where you can say the government should leave the economy to the people so that they can run it fully. So, especially because the people that are in power, especially the people in government, find themselves in a position whereby they play a critical role in how the economy goes. They are the people that have the money in most of the cases, because you will find that most of the people that are in politics are rich people and they have investments. So as they're in politics, one of their primary objective, even though they say they're there to serve the people, they are there to protect their wealth and to grow their wealth. In being in politics, that's how they network and that's how they make connections for their businesses. So in a way, they also play a part in bringing maybe like attracting investors if they want to develop a certain sector, because it helps them as well. So it cannot be clear that you should leave the government out of the economy, or the economy should belong to the government. Because once you give the economy to the government, then it is going to breed something that is very, very unsafe. Because once people are in politics and they know they control everything, then it's very hard for people to have a voice. Okay? So if the politician controls the jobs, if the politician controls everything, then it means that the person who does not rely on a politician will have nothing, or will not even be able to grow in any way. So there has to be a specific blend of things, such that the government can oversee some sectors but leave them to the public. But it has to oversee to make sure that they are well governed and they're well run. So this is why some governments develop authorities to overlook certain things, even though they have ministries for that. So it's something that is kind of messy. But then there is another side to it, which is if you pull the government out of everything and the government has no hand in the economy, then the public also becomes a mess. I think you've heard of something like the mafia. For example, here in Uganda, we have a very big outcry right now. Like every time you see people talking about how things are run in the country, you're bound to hear the word mafia come up. Why? Because the government decided to privatize most of the infrastructure and all the things there, hospital, the health sector, transport sector, everything almost the government privatized, even the banking sector. Okay, so the government has an oversees whatever is happening in those areas, but it left most of the things to the public. So there are some really strong people who now form the cartels and they try to dictate everything. Recently, we had a problem with the fuel, whereby it came out to be known that a few people sat down and decided to hold back fuel so that the prices can go up. You get it? So and it was after that the people came out and really made noise about it and told the government to take charge of whatever was going on, that now the government stood up and then certain things were worked on, and then the prices for fuel came down. Otherwise, the economy was dying because these cartels of people decided to hold the whole economy hostage. So there needs to be proper oversight. the government has to have a keen eye on the private sector so
Mm-hmm.
that it doesn't do much interference, but whenever
Mm-hmm.
there is need, it has to be able to step in. But also the private sector has to check the government wherever it has a hand, such that there is no room for breeding of corruption and too much embezzlement, and also people becoming dons in sectors such that the private sector cannot grow or it is stepped on.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. Musumba, you wanted to go? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, my opinion on this is that there
Ma'am,
has
I
to
think your whatever is down, your volume.
Okay, yeah, it's fine, I suppose.
hello.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead.
my opinion is that there has to be a balance between government and private sector. Yeah,
Okay.
I want a little bit of what Ronald was saying here.
Uh-huh.
Uh, Mostly, there are certain things that you leave to the government to provide. For instance, security, the nation's
Mm,
security, health care. Now,
mm, mm,
an example of
mm,
places where they have left everything almost in the open. Look at the American economy. Yeah?
mm,
You've
mm,
got
mm,
people that cannot afford to go to the hospitals. As good as the economy is, because they privatized everything. Yeah?
mm. Right.
That also requires, in their case, you're required to support the citizens enough that they have enough wealth to afford the services.
Okay.
So in this case, my argument is there has to be a balance. Government has to still be there.
Right.
Then you have private sectors. Mhm.
Is my voice audible?
Yes, it is.
Okay, Rion, then it's your problem. It's your problem. It's from my side, it's fine. Okay, I hear both your arguments. Uh, Anybody from Nigeria? Because I know that there's a larger contingent of Nigeria here. So anybody from Nigeria? Mm. Anybody from Nigeria who would like to join this discussion? Uh, no, nobody. Nobody wants to take an initiative. Uh, all right. Now a very interesting thing, which like I would bring in what Grace was talking about, and like my opinion, I suppose, is very clear on this, because I feel that now, like, one thing that what before bringing in Grace's point, what Rion was saying, one thing that I need to point out here is that he was talking about politicians, and he was talking about corrupt politicians and how they can do mayhem in the economy, like if you leave everything to them. Now my argument here is that, as an economist, what you need to look into is that your political system should have a very strong base, and your agencies have to be very, very strong. So for that to happen, for the agencies to be very, very strong, you need to have again, like, you need to look into the basics. So you have to educate everybody, you have to go for healthcare, what Chipul Mutso was talking about. Now, like, healthcare has to be there, education has to be there, basic amenities like clean drinking water has to be there, your sanitation has to be there. So these basic things have to be taken care of, and you need to have your judiciary to be very, very strong. That has to be something which is impregnable. You cannot have a judiciary which is in the hands of the politicians, because if that happens, that is when the system starts collapsing. So, and that is, I suppose, the basic difference between the developed countries and the developing or the underdeveloped countries, is that our agencies or our institutions are not as strong as theirs. Because there's a lot of wrong. What Chipul Mutsu was talking about, the American medical system, it's so true, because, like, even when this one, your Hillary Clinton, when she was running for the president, for president, her entire like the entire uh, focus was on health and how to go for public health and to have health system for everybody. That is what she was talking about everywhere she went. So for the economy to grow, you need to have, of course, you need to have a mix of both, as both of you said, that you need to have a mix of both the things. However, you also have to be very, very sure of that what are you handing over to the private sector. And the issue with, I suppose, with what Rion was talking about in his country, the petrol example that he gave, that some companies uh, manipulating the market and trying to hold on to the supplies. Now, this is something which is a symbol of crony capitalism. Crony capitalism is basically a system where there are few business houses which are very close to the people in power, and they start manipulating the system. And crony capitalism is again something which you will be seeing in most of the developing countries, whether it's India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Uganda, Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Malawi. Anywhere you go and you'll find crony capitalism. You'll always have those a few people who are very close to the people in power, and they take advantage of that. So that has always been there. But now again, uh, there has to be a very, very good mix as far as your public and the private sector has been. Now, like in India, what we have been trying, of course, we also make mistakes. We have made a lot of mistakes, but the thing is that we have been trying to have a system where we have got a lot of checks and balances in place. The government has, the present government has also, like, they have tried to minimize the involvement of the bureaucracy in managing things, because the more layers of bureaucracy you have, the more chances of corruption you have. So what they have done is that they have minimized those layers, and they have they have started having a lot of single window system schemes and stuff like that. So that has been there. Now coming to the next point, now coming to what Grace has raised, that she said that fortunately or unfortunately, not only her country but the entire African continent is receiving a lot of aid from China. Now, is that a good sign? China giving a lot of aid, bringing in a lot of capital to the African countries. Is that a good sign, a bad sign, something that the countries need to be cautious about, something they should be celebrating? What is it? Yes, I suppose China has been investing in all the African countries, so anybody can take that.
I don't know if you people have heard of one of the incidences that has happened with China and one of the countries, whereby it went into this country and under the disguise of developing infrastructure, especially in the road development sector, transport sector. They constructed some highways and some flyovers and bridges. And under the contract that was signed with that country, I think China was supposed to take over a certain portion of that country. So I don't even know how leaders in the African countries come up with these ideas when they're signing documents, or how they even agree to such things. Like someone mentioned that neo-colonialism, I think it was Grace. Okay. I think China is trying to push areas where, like, the West has been having a lot of influence, and especially being that it tries to hold some of our leaders accountable. So in the fact that they don't want to be held accountable, they don't want to be asked questions. You cannot do this to your people. Don't torture your people. If you torture your people, we shall not give you the donations you want. China, on the other hand, doesn't do that. It doesn't hold any leaders accountable. It doesn't interfere with how you lead your country. If you kill your people, if they are rioting or they are demonstrating against poor, health sector, or the roads are bad and people are demonstrating and you kill them, we don't mind. For us, we shall keep working with you. Okay, so there is that kind of thing that our leaders don't want to be held accountable, so they will find a partner who is more lenient to whatever they are doing, especially. So China may seem to want to help, but it is not really helping the people. It is helping those few people that are in power so that they can hold on to power the longer. That is what it looks like.
All right. Okay. Mm. uh, Grace, if I may have you here, if it is possible for you to open your mic with if it's fine, then kindly. I would like to know your thoughts on it as vis-a-vis your country.
My thoughts.
On China coming into your country.
Like I did say, it's another form of, you can say it's neocolonialism. As much as they are helping us as a developing country,
Mm-hmm.
there are certain things they're seemingly getting ahead of us of,
Mm-hmm.
which eventually will, will make us have repercussions. You know, the amount of land being given, and
Mm-hmm.
then us not allowing them to use people for mass production,
Mm-hmm.
uh, poor wages. The government is seemingly not having a grip because of these huge capital investments China
Mm-hmm.
is actually placing before us, and I think it's blinding us. So
All right.
that yeah, yes, that's where we are. It's just a time bomb. It's an impending time bomb. We are seeing the great infrastructures, the
Mm-hmm.
input in the mines, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and it's in a way helping us export more,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
and helping us keep a balanced rate of inflation.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, we are going to see China eventually coming up with certain sanctions when we fail to pay back these capital investments they've made in Zambia.
Okay, great. Asad, if I may hear from you about your country and your thoughts on this.
Hi, Mom.
Hi.
I think it's a, a competition between US and China.
Mm-hmm.
So China right now has it's going to control or to make a relation between China and African countries.
Mm-hmm.
So for Sudan, after separation,
Mm-hmm.
China is transferred to South Sudan
Mm-hmm.
because China follows the petroleum, and
Mm-hmm.
there is no enough petrol in North Sudan.
Okay.
So the relationship based on benefit. So China look to its benefit
Mm-hmm.
in country or in other country in Africa. So
Uh,
from point of Hmm?
Asad, whom would you prefer, America or China?
Honestly, US.
Okay, why?
I think it is they are honest to deal with you. They having
Okay.
like uh, they having reason behind their mind to do in our country or other country. It is good because we have a good relationship with European or US countries.
Mm-hmm.
Our relation is good.
Mm-hmm. Is there a
So
color
this is my
bias?
opinion on things.
Asad, is there a color bias? Like,
And there is
uh,
another things
yeah.
between China and US.
Huh.
The kind of service or product
Mm,
we have received from China or US,
mm,
the difference in quality. So and all
Okay, I suppose we have lost you. I can't hear him. Everybody can hear him?
Not actually.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I can't hear
No,
him. Yep. Okay. Okay, but
I
I
think
suppose, yeah, yeah. Grace, go ahead.
I'm thinking whether the West or the East, they all have interests that are hidden
Mm,
in the name of trying to support developing countries. But
mm,
if you look critically, you as a nation should weigh what would work for you so that
mm,
you benefit it both in the short run and
mm,
reduce the long run risk that may accrue from such interventions from both the East. Well, the US
mm,
has holds the human rights as important and a core to their decisions,
mm-hmm,
uh, other than the Chinese who are
mm-hmm,
compromised.
mm-hmm.
Um, I'm just thinking it's up to each of the nations to be vigilant and also strategize into what they can tap out of from these various these two superpowers. I'm thinking like that. It's what
Okay.
you're getting out of. It's a give and take.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Anybody else who wants to make a statement? Okay. Now, right now, okay. Now, if I now want to draw parallels with the Indian economy about what you are saying, we, as I said, that we, yes,
Hello,
yes,
man.
Usman, go ahead. Yeah, yeah. Hi, go ahead.
Yeah, as from Nigeria,
Mm,
we have some relationship, business relationship with China.
mm-hmm,
As some known that Nigeria is a importing country.
mm-hmm,
So China's produce a lot to us, and
mm-hmm,
we have largest markets in the West African countries.
mm-hmm,
So as the result of that, China makes some agreement to Nigeria,
mm-hmm,
especially for the businessmen.
mm-hmm.
They come to the businessmen, especially the
We can't hear you, Usman. Yeah, go ahead.
the
Yeah.
wholesalers
Mm-hmm,
to bring their product to the country at the cheapest price, but
mm-hmm.
honestly speaking, at the lowest quality. So
Okay.
very recently, the government of Nigeria make
Mm,
some agreement with the Chinese government,
mm-hmm,
but the agreement is not valid because
mm-hmm,
of the Americans don't want Nigeria to get that into that agreement with the China
mm-hmm,
because of the that that's a national or international issues
mm-hmm,
between American and Chinese. So
mm-hmm,
we Nigerian, we can say the only relation with the Nigeria with the
mm-hmm,
China is a business.
mm-hmm,
We produce goods, especially electronics,
mm-hmm,
and all the phones, even 90% of the smartphone we are using in Nigeria is from China.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So so that is the only things I can say for now.
Okay. Okay. I'll just give me a second, huh? Now, if I want to, okay, like two things are very, very clear to me with regards to what you people are saying. The problem with China is, one is, of course, they are not very reliable because they make certain promises which they do not fulfill. Second, what Grace very, very correctly she mentioned, the human rights angle, and I suppose that is what Asad also was talking about. That you can. Rion was also talking that they America made your leaders answerable, whereas China is fine till the time their business interests are kept in, like they are fine. Now the issue with if we are talking about like if I now talk to you about the Indian economy, what we I'll say that we were smart enough to understand that, our leaders were smart enough to understand that we have never allowed any one country to come and invest in as much as they want. So that is something that we have always we have not allowed. Um, we as I said, that we had a planned economy, a sort of it was not a closed economy. Like we were trading, but we had a lot of restrictions in our trade. Like we were not allowing every country to come in and trade. We ourselves were not trading with all the countries. So we had a lot of you can say terms and conditions as far as trade was concerned. Now, since 1991, like 1991 was a watershed year for us, because we changed our economic policy 180 degrees. We had a foreign exchange crisis in 1991, where we just had a foreign exchange enough to import 15 days worth of goods. So we went to the IMF for a loan, and IMF agreed to give a loan, but they put in a lot of riders to that loan. And the most important rider was that they wanted us to be open in the economy, like open up our economy, and they wanted more of free trade. Now, of course, we agreed to it. As I in the last lecture also I said that uh, we were the signatory members of WTO. That means we were the first ones who signed on the dotted line as far as the WTO was concerned. We joined in 1994. WTO was formed, and we joined it then. And we joined. We opened up our economy. We became a more service sector oriented economy, but like we went for LPG, liberalization, privatization, globalization in a big way, but we still had our checks and balances. We were very hesitant, like we did not went for 100% current account convertibility. We like in the retail sector, it's 51% is there that you can come in. So in all the sectors we have that, okay, 51% you can have 49% shareholding, but 51% will be with us. Or major shareholdings, it might be major shareholding is with a foreign company, but at least like 30% is with us. So we have that thing. The 1996 crisis of Argentina was 1996, sorry, the 1996 crisis was of these your East Asian countries, when Thai baht went down. So we had we had that thing, and then the crisis of Argentina, Mexico. All these things also showed us that it was good to have not a closed door policy, but not to have a wide door policy as well, that you allow everybody to come into your country and do as they wish. So I suppose that was a very that was a very smart move on the part of our leaders, when they did not allow that. Like what again, what Grace was talking about, that you have a system where you take the best from both the countries, because neither America is good nor China is good. Both of them have their hidden agendas. So you take the best from them, and then you negotiate so that you do not get left out. So now, like with if we are talking in terms of negotiations, like of course we are the like largest importer of Chinese goods. So we are the largest market for China. We are exporting a lot of things to China. We have got our trade relations, but we have had we do not share a very good bond in terms of the politics, because we have been having border issues with China. There has been a lot of aggression, and the Indian government has been very, very strong in its stand in the international community, where it went out and it made it very clear that we might be trading with you, but we will not allow this sort of aggression there. So that has been there. With America also, we have had our issues. Like if I talk about the recent Russian Ukraine war, uh, we are importing oil from Russia right now, and we are doing it in our own currency because it's allowed. And our foreign minister, he has been put on the dock in a lot of international news conferences, where he has been asked that if India is siding with Russia, it's not a very good move, and like it's against the human rights. It's a lot of those things, and he said that fine, like we will be talking about the aggressions. We are not right now, we are not taking any of the sides, but uh, as an economy, as a big economy, what we are looking at is uh, our own interests. So it in our own interests right now, it is more cheaper for us to buy gas from petrol from Russia, rather than buying it from the OPEC nations. So let the other countries say whatever they want, but we are going to import from Russia. That has been our stand, and we are still doing it. So this entire like this debate that is there has to be, I suppose, where okay, let me not answer. Wasn't, like, if I may bring in, because your economy is very different to the African economy, I suppose.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Is it more of a market oriented economy?
Um, I would say, the main pillar of our economy is tourism.
Okay.
Yeah, it's tourism. So we depend a lot of tourists coming to the country.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have that many things that we produce to export,
Mm-hmm.
except tourism.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have our sugarcane fields, but then that's mainly for the European market, because that's how the agreements that we have with them,
Mm-hmm.
right? And for local consumption, and yeah, that's the main pillar is. And gradually, since the past 8 years or so,
Mm-hmm.
the financial market is emerging as well. So you
You
will
are
hear a
becoming
lot
a
about.
next Cayman Island.
Yeah, we are on the way, but then we sometimes, we have so many companies from or people, dodgy people from around the world, so who like to uh, how you call it, whitewash their ill-gotten money.
Mm-hmm.
So they find a way somehow to dig into our system and then come out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So somehow, yeah. So time and again, we they pull the alarm on us that, yeah, this and that fraudster is using funds in
Mm-hmm.
Mauritius, is
Mm-hmm.
using the financial services to hide their, the dubious sources of money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Uh,
So the
I, I,
financial services, yeah.
No, I was just asked. Sorry, I just wanted, like, very bad habit of me to barge in, but like I am so
Mhm.
eager to know that whether it's the private sector which is more dominant, or is it the government sector which is more dominant?
The private sector is much more dominant, man.
Okay, so the entire
The
tourism
pri-
business is in the hands of the private sector.
yes, it is. Yeah.
And what about unemployment in your country?
Unemployment at the moment is like at 10%.
Quite high.
Yeah, it is. It is for a small country. I mean, we are
Yeah,
a
like
population of
yeah, because looking at the
1.3,
size,
1.5.
like I
Yeah,
can't complain because our unemployment rate is also very high. But
yeah,
yeah, because it's a small country, so I suppose yeah, it should be there. What is your take about
yeah.
this China America thing?
You mean the economic
Yeah,
wars,
yeah, like with China, like China entering Africa,
investing in countries in Africa?
yeah, and
Yeah.
America. Like if you were there in Africa, whom would you prefer?
Um, I would prefer America.
Okay.
I would prefer America because what I've not researched, what I've heard, I watched loads of, Indian videos
Mm-hmm.
on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, from especially from those channels that offer the services for IAS preparation and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I've heard a lot about the Chinese debt trap, how they invest in countries that struggle economically,
Mm-hmm.
and knowing that they won't be able to repay back their debts,
Mm-hmm.
and but still they invest in them, and then when there comes a time when the country in question hasn't got all the money to repay back. So
Mm-hmm.
China, as per their agreements, so they keep control of, let's say, a manufacturing sector or a port.
Mm-hmm.
Just what happened to recently to Sri Lanka,
Mm-hmm.
what they're doing to Pakistan as well with the CPEC and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's in the top Asia part what they're doing. So China, this is in their blood, in their projects, in their vision to take control of the Indian Ocean. So they tried their hands at Mauritius as well. It's been like good 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
They funded some projects.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then after some time the government changed. The project was not taken off properly. Maybe
Okay.
they got you know uh, some good intention people.
Mm-hmm.
They warned our politicians that this is the actual plan of
China.
China.
Mm-hmm.
So we somehow managed to like come out of it,
Mm-hmm.
because most of the why I say this is because all the projects that they had planned to open up with the investments and everything,
Mm-hmm.
all the investments, so and all the land that they had allocated to China to develop, so everything remained as it is with no developments. So somewhere something triggered
Mm-hmm.
must have been triggered somewhere, so that those projects, they were not given enough attention, and we didn't go after them, after China, to come here and complete the project. And then in the meantime, we got other investors as well from Africa. We got some from Africa, from Europe, and from India as well. India has invested a lot in Mauritius,
Mm-hmm.
especially for the metro system.
Mm-hmm.
So in some way, so we know India is not ill intention about Mauritius. So because both of them, they're fighting for control in the Indian Ocean,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so we know India is a partner we can trust. So slowly but surely, we have been like warding off China's attempts to invest in the country, because now it's really apparent. Looking at what happened to the CPEC, what happened to Sri Lanka,
Mm-hmm.
and also I think there's a country. The name is not coming now. It's an African country. So China was uh, they had really dug deep into that country's economy,
Mm-hmm.
but then that country, that African country, was brave enough. Their politician that China, just pick up your bags and go away. We don't want to hear you.
Okay.
Probably you won't get your money back, but we know what your intentions are,
Mm-hmm.
and we're not going to let this happen. So you can just pack your bags and go. So it's more of a geopolitical issue.
Yep.
What I'm trying to say. That's my opinion, ma'am. That's it.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, like, of course, whenever you're talking about economies, whenever you're talking about the if you're talking about the mm, okay, right, okay, fine. I have just a second. I have right. I am shifting a lot. What like you cannot talk about any country's economy without talking about the geopolitics or the history of that country. Now, if I take from Vasant what he's talking about Mauritius and how it is now, there has to be you can America. Now, what America did was like if we look at the global economy, then America had the same sort of a policy which China is having right now. It used to go to the countries, but yes, somewhere certain things which have been good about the American country is that. They have also looked at the welfare of the people. So in the name of development, they did a few developmental work, though they have always been instrumental in instigating wars, whether it has been the Gulf War, whether it is the war between Iran and Iraq, or whether it is this entire turmoil that is happening in North Africa, whether it is financing a body like ISIS. Yeah, so America, or look at the dismal condition of Afghanistan, what America has done to that. So Russia is partly to be blamed for Afghanistan as well, but yeah, so that is how it has been. And just a second again. Like if I can let me stop sharing for a second, because I wanted you people to be introduced to another thing from like from the Indian economy point of view, if I'm talking, and that is the because we are an agrarian economy, as I said. So I would like you to be very much introduced to uh, the green revolution thing that we have had and how successful we have been there. So if I can just very quickly show you, there are two, three things that we in India, not two, three things, lot many things apart from those two, three things, but yeah. Uh, Now we inherited a agrarian society, agrarian economy, as I earlier mentioned. And we, in the first 5-year plan, we gave importance to agriculture, but we did not bring in technical, uh, mm, what should I say? We did not introduce technology into agriculture at that point of time. So it was more about making the country self-sufficient and trying to be to be there. Now, that did not work. 1962, we had our first war after independence, and that was the Indochina War of 1962. 1964, we had another war with Pakistan, and both these wars, of course, we like that was another thing for the economy, because we were not keeping much of our budgets for defense, because we were just talking about agriculture, we were talking about industries, we had these huge public sector enterprises coming up in steel, in electricals, you had in aluminium. So yeah, so we were looking at those things. Now, what happened after these wars was that we started paying a lot of attention to our defense as well. Now, during that same period of 1960s, we came up with two, three experiments. One was this Bhudan movement that you're seeing on your screens. Bhudan basically means gifting land. That is what Bhudan means. Bhu means land, Dan means gift. So Bhudan movement was a land gifting movement, which was started by Acharya Vinoba Bhave. Bhave, and that was basically a sort of a you can say land redistribution system. Like for if I want to make it easy for you people to understand, it was basically a land redistribution system wherein the big landowners were asked to give away their land to the people who did not have it. And this movement started from south of India, where a big landowner, he gave away a huge part of his land, which was then distributed amongst the landless peasants, and that is how the movement started. It is one of the major experiments that has been carried out in the world of this type, where you asked the landowners to give away their excess land because they had they had too much of land, and there was a vast majority of population which did not have anything. So that was a very good thing, and that there was a huge change in the feudal setup as well, because obviously the entire system was changing. So we this was one thing. The second experiment that happened was if we talk about is the we had the green revolution thing. Okay, so the food security thing. So if I talk about food security, so food security was an issue with us during that period, and even today food distribution, like we now have got a lot of stock of food grains with us: wheat, rice, pulses. We have got a huge stock of it. The issue is of distribution. So United Nations in 2018, they said that about 882,000 children die of hunger, and India was placed at 102nd rank, which is a serious category. It was after India we had Nigeria, which had 866,000 deaths. Pakistan had 490,000 deaths. Democratic Republic of Congo had 296,000 deaths. Ethiopia had 191,000 deaths. So yes, so this is these are the data that we have. So coming to this entire thing of green revolution that I was talking about, I don't know whether I have that in my slide or not. Okay, I don't have it in my slide, but I have it here. So let me talk to you about, let me speak to you about the green revolution, and I can then have inputs from you. This is block 2 of your syllabus. So if you read the block 2, you'll find things about the agricultural sector. So we started a program called Intensive Agriculture Development Program. Just give me a second. I do have some slides on that. Let me very quickly open the slides. I thought that this is the one. Sorry for that. Uh, mm, okay. Intensive Agricultural Development Program started in the year 1964. It started off as a experiment, and it was implemented in 15 districts, and then it was taken to the other states as well. Now, what is that? Let me show it to you. Like we okay. We the phases of Indian agriculture, we have got 4 phases of Indian agriculture. So we had a phase from 1947 to 1965. Then we had a phase from 1965 to 1980. It's okay. The slides are there. Yeah. So we had a phase from 1947 to 1965, as I said, 1965 to 1980, 1980 to 1991, and then 1991 onwards. So of course, 47 to 65, if we are talking, so we abolished intermediaries. We had this entire Bhudan movement that I was talking to you. We had community development program, and then the intensive area development program was brought in. Agricultural price commission was set up so that the prices were regulated in this sector. Now, 1965 to 1980. Now, this is what I was trying to tell you people, and then I would like to have your opinion on that. That how like what sort of a program that your country had. Because we were not self-sufficient in food grains, there was a lot of hunger. So we started with Green Revolution. Green Revolution was basically something that was started by Ford Foundation. I hope everybody has heard that name, Ford Foundation. Now, Ford Foundation started a wheat program in Mexico, where Dr. Borloy, he developed this new this is a gentleman, William God, who gave this term Green Revolution. And then you had the Ford Foundation and the Rockefeller Foundation. Both of them, they started it in Mexico, and then in Philippines they had this 1962. What they did was Norman Borlaug, the person on the right hand side of your screens, he was an American agricultural scientist. He developed a high yielding variety of seeds, HYVs, that are known as. These are basically dwarf varieties of wheat and rice, which required a lot of water, but they were very, very productive, highly productive things. And the gentleman on the left is Dr. M.S. Swaminathan. He is known as the father of Green Revolution in India. He, along with Norman Borlaug, both of them got together, and this experiment was brought to India. First, because the Rockefeller Foundation had already done the wheat experiment in Mexico, and it was successful. And then they had done this rice experiment in Philippines. Again, this was very successful in Philippines. So both the things got combined, the wheat and the rice, and they brought it to India. And as I was saying, that the intensive agriculture area program was started, and the intensive agriculture district program was started. And it was initially in 100, not 15 districts, sorry, it was in 114 districts that it was started. And the main objective was obviously to have a strategy which was more where you could had okay. So you had more of food security. You wanted people to have sufficient food grains. And this was basically started in those states which had ample water supply. So the states of, like, if you open the map of India, you'll in the north of India, you'll find a state called Punjab, the place from where I am working right now, Punjab. And then you've got Haryana, and then you've got eastern Uttar Pradesh, and then you've got Bihar, and then you've got West Bengal, and then you've got Odisha. Then you go south, and you've got Tamil Nadu, you've got Maharashtra, parts of Maharashtra, not the entire Maharashtra, and then Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu. These states were very, they had abundant water supply. So this program, the high yielding variety program, was taken to these states because, as I said, that they required almost 4 times the water of which the normal crops required, like the previous crops to what we had in the during the Green Revolution. So they needed more amount of water then. So 4 times more amount of water. So what were the steps that were there to achieve it? So you had surface and groundwater irrigation, agricultural equipments and fertilizers, agricultural price commission, nationalization of private banks, setting up cooperative credit societies. So basically, we brought in more mechanization in agriculture. We started a lot of scientific, like technological intervention was started. A lot of tractors being used, a lot of like instead of manual labor, we brought in a lot of mechanical labor and like machine labor, and machines started replacing a lot of things. And the seed quality went up, got in a lot of fertilizers and insecticides to help make these plants resistance to pest and other issues. And we started off with the like irrigation. We started having a lot of wells and canals. Like the north of India had a lot of the canal system was developed. So Punjab and Haryana are known for the canals. And that is how we started off. So the highlights were, of course, HYV, that is high yielding variety of seeds, the fertilizers and the irrigation. And yeah, so we became country who did not have sufficient food grain to provide for its vast majority of a population, to a country which started exporting food grains, which could donate it to the countries who did not have food grains. And we started off with a minimum support price system where we supported the farmers. We still do in a lot of crops. We still provide an amount to our farmers. Like they need not go and sell it to the open market. They can sell it to the government, and the government buys it from there, from them. So yeah, so that is basically the idea about green revolution. Now if I can have you people talking to me about the agricultural development that happened in your country, and anybody can start off. I mm, I do know. Yeah, yes. Salihu, you want to go? Whoever wants to go, go ahead and speak about their agriculture. Like, how did you people proceed with your agriculture? Okay, Khamis, we understand. Uh, yeah, anybody, anybody who belongs to a farming family. Anybody here who belongs to a family of farmers? Okay, the moment I start talking about my economy, everybody goes to sleep. But that is what the subject is all about. The subject is about the Indian economy. I do understand it. Yeah, Rion, go ahead.
Uh, no, I think to most of the people right now,
Hmm.
especially, for example, let me take my instance that I'm giving an example from
Hmm.
Uganda.
Hmm.
Our economy was originally based on agriculture.
Right.
So our leadership has tried to turn the country from that.
Hmm.
There is, I don't know if it's called, it's like brainwashing.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
Uh, People are told that certain things are not of a certain class or they are not certain whatever, and people tend to draw away from certain things and they go into the direction where their leaders mostly point them to.
Hmm.
Our economy was primarily agricultural. Most of our population sustains itself on agriculture.
Hmm.
But right now we are trying to go into other areas, information technology and all that. Yet we don't even have the capability to do that
Hmm.
fully.
Hmm.
So we know, that for example, from where I come from, I know
Hmm.
what an agricultural family is and if someone lived off agriculture.
Hmm.
But right now, our country, our land is so much partitioned that you cannot find large scale farming done in most of the areas. So most people do just subsistence agriculture. So we have farms and we have whatever, but it is not to a scale that you can think of it to be done at a large scale. But we know what the life of a farmer is and what a farmer would want.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. But
Okay.
we
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
have
go ahead.
much of. But it's no longer like it used to be, where a homestead lived off agriculture completely.
Okay. Uh, uh, like any of your country, any of you, like in your country, has anything of this scale and proportion, and such a program has happened where the government intervened and the government set up an entire plan of taking agriculture forward? Something similar to this has happened in your country? Because the term green revolution is a common term. William God gave it, and a lot of countries use this term green revolution. Any of your countries which have had this? No.
Well, I don't know whether we can call it like that. From where I'm coming from,
Hmm.
well, from time and memorial in Zambia, because basically hunting
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, growing food in
Mm-hmm.
small pieces of land,
Mm-hmm.
subsistence farming, peasant farming, and we have the settlers, white settlers,
Mm-hmm.
who who got bigger land and
Mm-hmm.
started commercial farming, and this was not sustaining because there was a lot of exports when
Mm-hmm.
they grow these produce in our country. So the government started intervening and started empowering subsistence and peasant farmers
Mm-hmm.
uh, with the help of food reserve agencies.
Mm-hmm.
They give these peasant farmers like aid in terms of fertilizer,
Mm-hmm.
find readily available markets for them, and
Mm-hmm.
see how these peasant farmers can eventually grow into commercial farmers by
Mm-hmm.
helping them purchase a heavy machinery for example, irrigation. So the
Mm-hmm.
government has made deliberate programs in each province, for example, Zambia,
Mm-hmm.
where each farmer can can secure some some things that will help him grow crops like maize is a staple food.
Mm-hmm.
So for those farmers that struggle, the government is there,
Mm-hmm.
and
Okay.
when they grow these crops, the government usually finds
Mm.
like a readily available market for them.
Okay.
Yeah, just to empower them. And together, if we put all their produce together in
Mm-hmm.
Zambia in a depot, it's
Mm-hmm.
helping us export maize outside, and it's creating a lot of employment. And there's facilitation of middlemen in terms of helping farmers facilitate in that the others are retailers for farm producers, others are retailers,
Mm-hmm.
others are middlemen between consumer and wholesalers, and it's just another um, a growth that is contributing in our economy. Agro is actually contributing so much to Zambia. We just
Okay.
wish we can
Great.
impart a lot to the
Hmm.
Zambians that are in this farming sector.
Great. This is very similar to what we have, like when you use the word middlemen. So, we in India also, like, there has been two things. One is to remove those middlemen, the ones who were those indigenous money lenders at the village level who would give money at very exorbitant rates. So, that has been the aim of the government to remove them. But if we are talking in terms of the like even today we have got middlemen, but then they are the certified middlemen from the government knows that okay, this person is a middleman, and they are the facilitators. Basically, they are the facilitators for the small and the marginal farmers. The large farmers don't require facilitating, but it's the small and the marginal farmers who require facilitating. So what Grace is talking about Zambia is very similar to what we did in India. And it is like our prime minister, honorable prime minister, has been talking of doubling the income of the farmers, and he has a entire roadmap for that. And he has been constantly talking about how to double the income of the farmers, because again, like from a very economic perspective, if I talk to you, then any economy which is less dependent on agriculture is always a more developed economy. So you look at all the developed economies: US, UK, Canada, Germany, France, Italy, Japan, Australia, New Zealand. All these countries, if you're talking about all these developed countries that you're talking about, they all have a very small agricultural sector, and they've got a huge industrial sector and the service sector. Or you can be a country like New Zealand, but then they have got a very mechanized and a very quality conscious agricultural sector that is there. Uh, so if you're talking in terms of transmission of an economy, you always the transmission happens from, or the transformation happens from being an agrarian economy to an industrial economy to a service sector economy. That is how the transition should take place, and that is how it takes place. So that means you have got less people who are dependent on agriculture, less part of your GDP coming from agriculture, But that doesn't mean that your agriculture production is not sufficient enough to feed your people. What you're trying to do is that you're trying to mechanize it to to that a level that those little people can produce for the entire country, and then they can export as well. So that is what they have been doing. So if that transition is happening, great. But the question is that after, like, if you have done the transition, is the country self sufficient? Like, if you are still using the word subsistence farming, that's a matter of concern. That's a matter of concern for the policymakers, because you cannot have subsistence agriculture, because subsistence agriculture means what? It means that you are just producing enough for the consumption of your own family. You are not left with any surplus. So that means your productivity is very, very low, which again is a problem for the country. So you cannot have subsistence agriculture. You have to have a huge agriculture produce, like the production has to be at a mass scale. And secondly, you need to provide all the required infrastructure for taking the to upscaling the production of your agricultural products. So you need a very strong financial system, you need a very strong pricing mechanism, you need a very, very strong marketing department for this. You need very strong land acts, as far as the land acts are concerned. That has to be very, very strong. You need to have a very good irrigation facilities. You need to have good quality seed banks in the country. So you need to have a lot of storage places. So you need to have storehouses, and that to mechanized storehouses you require for them. So these are the infrastructure that you need to provide. Now that is where, when we started off the class today and we were debating on the role of the state. Now this infrastructure, the private sector is not going to create. The private sector is going to create it only for those crops which are beneficial for them. It will be doing it only in those places which is beneficial for them. They won't have a pan country outlook or a pan country vision. That pan country vision only can come from the state. So it is the role of the state to ensure that people have got, the farmers have sufficient electricity, the farmers have sufficient funds, the farmers are getting subsidies for fertilizers, farmers are getting subsidies to buy farm equipments. They are not struggling to sell their produce. There is some quality check mechanism in place which is checking all those things. The weather forecasting system has to be very, very strong. Like now in India, we have the Doppler system. So now we have installed Dopplers in most of our weather houses, and the forecasting has become much, much, much more accurate than it was earlier. Like previously, the joke in India was that the weather forecasters always had a lag of 24 hours. So if they said that it's going to rain today, so you expect 100% rains tomorrow or day after. But now if they say that it's going to rain, there's 99% chances that yes, it's going to rain today. And then they'll give you an hourly update that okay, you are going to have a sunny morning, and then 2 hours later it might turn a bit cloudy, and then there'll be windy. So that Doppler system has done, like, it has helped agriculture in a big, big way. Communication system, like Grace, the industry which she belongs to, that has done wonders for us in terms of agriculture, because that smartphone in the hands of agriculture in the hands of the farmers have empowered them to take a look at the prices that are there in the market. It tells them, like, when the harvesting takes place of wheat and paddy, and of pulses, and of oil seeds, and of sugarcane, as I said, there is a minimum support price which the government declares, and the government goes out and buys all the produce. So previously, what used to happen is that the farmers used to take it to that market where the government would buy, and they would stay there for a week, 10 days, sometimes even 15 days till their time came of getting their output weighed and sold. Many a times you had rains during that, and the farmers would lose out on their produce because their produce would get wet and things. Now what has happened is that because of telecommunications, you get yourself registered on the government portal, and you let the government know that this is your this is how much production you have, and this is where you are. So the nearest selling point gives you a token number, and they tell you the date when you have to come. So you just go on that day, sell off your produce, and you are back there. So that has eased. So we have this entire infrastructure, this entire this environment has been created by the government over a period of time. Of course, it has not been easy, it has not been quick. It has been going on since the 60s that we have been doing it, but yes, it is working wonders. And we are doing very, very well as far as agriculture is concerned in this term. Of course, there's a whole lot to be done. We are now looking at cooperative farming. That is something that we are re-looking. We have experimented with it in the past, but yes, we are re-looking at it. So there's still 15 minutes to go. You people can come out with all the questions that you want to ask, or any inputs you want to give. That is about agriculture and things. And tomorrow I'll be talking to you about the fourth block that we have, the fourth block, which is there in your syllabus, which is basically the international business environment. So we'll be talking about global financing, foreign trade, balance of payment. We'll be talking about these things tomorrow. So yeah, please go ahead, come out with your views, your inputs, especially if it is in terms of agriculture. I would love to hear from you. My own research work is mainly in the field of agriculture, so I would love to hear about things in your country, how things are going on. Anybody can participate. It's open for all. Nobody wants to speak. Yes. Asad, how is agriculture in Sudan? How mechanized is it? I hope I'm audible. Asad? Okay. Right. So I suppose most of you are in your offices, and right. So let's do one thing. Let's close the session here today, and we'll continue tomorrow. We have got the last session tomorrow. So let's do